Hello and welcome to the podcast about private blog networks. This is your host, the Evil Mad Genius, and we're going to be covering everything that you need to know to build a successful private blog network. First, a little bit about myself. I've been in affiliate marketing for just about 3 years. 2 years of that have been full-time. When I first started out, I started using private blog networks probably about 6 months into affiliate marketing. I was researching them. I understood the benefit of them. I just didn't know exactly how to build them or the best practices around it. So after I started studying it a little bit more, I started buying expired domains. One thing led to another. I had about 60 private blog network sites. And then once I got to that point, I started buying in bulk. I started buying 100 at a time, and now I have over 570 sites in my private blog network. So got a lot of information to share, and you'll definitely benefit from the topics that we're going to discuss. Even if it's a little tidbit, maybe you pick up on something and really changes your strategy for private blog networks. So the first thing is, let's just cover what is a private blog network and how does that differ from a public blog network. Well, a private blog network, it's just a website. It's actually a group of websites for the sole purpose of backlinking to your money site. And you control the content and the links, the design, everything on this private blog network. It's all 100% under your control, and you're using it for the sole purpose to promote your money sites. Now, how does that differ from a public blog network? Well, these two terms are confused quite a bit. People think that, I'm just going to buy links on a private blog network. Well, you really don't buy links on a private blog network. That's usually a public blog network. And if you run into people who sell links on a public blog network, you're going to find that those networks are not as powerful. One, because they have a lot more links, and two, the content is often not relevant to your money site. You could have a blog post. Let's say your money site's about promoting a garlic press. You're doing reviews on the best garlic press out there. So you buy some links on a public blog network, and you have a blog post about a garlic press, and it's linking back to your website. That's great. But the other content on that website is not all related to a garlic press or even kitchen products for that matter. It could be related to cars or tax accountants, lawyers. There could be a range of topics. And when you don't have that, the whole site is not relevant, it's just not as powerful. The best backlinks in Google are from quality websites with quality content, and it's relevant to what your money site is about. Those are the best kind of links, and you can't get that with a public blog network. So I just wanted to make sure that that's clear before we get any further, the difference between a private blog network and a public blog network. So now let's talk about what type of sites do you look for when you're building a private blog network. First, you're going to want to find expired domains. That's the best type of website that you can get for your private blog network. And the reason why is because expired domains are domains that were once business websites, or they promoted some type of event, or it could be about a town. I mean, there could be hundreds of different types of websites that are expired, and and the people who owned them didn't renew them for whatever reason. And these websites already have an existing link profile. They could have hundreds, if not thousands of good quality backlinks coming to that website, which gives that website a lot of authority. You can find expired domains that provide a great amount of link juice. And they can be, we're going to go over, exactly what to look for, because you don't always want to look for, does this expired domain have a good PR? Google doesn't update PR that often, so that's not the best indicator. So we're gonna talk a little bit about that. But expired domains are the best. Now, you could create a private blog network of a bunch of news sites, but then you're going to have to go through the effort of backlinking to those websites, because if you just create a brand new website, it's not going to have any power. It takes time. SEO is a slow race. It's like a marathon. It just takes time for links to build and for the website to get out there and Google to index it and everything else. So you save a ton of time by purchasing an expired domain. Now, there's a couple different ways that you can do that. One, you can look on GoDaddy auctions for expired domains. You can go to websites that list expired domains from a bunch of different registrars, or you could just go to a domain dealer. And a domain dealer is somebody who specializes in buying expired domains and reselling them for a profit. Now, they're not making hundreds or thousands of dollars on a website. They're probably making like $30 or $50. But I find that that's the best route. For me personally, that's the best route. I started out looking for expired domains myself, and I got some good domains. But most of those domains that I handpicked and got for, let's say, $20, $30, a year later, they're not that great of domains. The best domains and the most solid domains that are still very powerful and providing a lot of link juice are ones that I bought from a domain dealer. And the person that I use is hyperdomains.net. He's got a lot of great websites. I've used some other domain dealers too, but he has some really good websites, and they range anywhere from $50 to upwards of several $100s. I've bought everything from PR1 to PR6 through his domains, and a lot of those domains are still around today, a year later, and they're doing great. One of the reasons why I go with a domain dealer is because they specialize in it. There's only so much time that I have doing affiliate marketing and promoting my websites to be researching domains. I mean, I have 570 domains. I can't be bogged down with the details of 570 domains on a daily basis. I'll never get anything done. When I started out, I did handpick some of those, and it's good to learn that process. But once you get to a certain point, I would recommend to buy from a domain dealer. Use your time wisely and use it to promote your websites. Unless you're going into the business of providing private blog or a public blog network to other people, I would let somebody else handle it. If that's not your expertise, pay a little bit extra and let somebody handle it for you, and you'll always get the good domains as long as you know what to look for. Now, when you're looking for those domains, there's one website, expireddomains.net or deleteddomains.net. I forget the exact name of it, but I will include it in the notes on my blog, the exact link for that, as well as a link to hyperdomains.net and some other resources that you'll find useful whenever you're whenever you're searching to buy your first set of domains. But when you look for domains, there's a lot of different characteristics or aspects of a domain. You don't want to just look at the age of the website or the PR of the website. What I do is I look at the majestic.com trust flow and citation flow of that domain. I look at it with just the root domain. Let's say I'm looking at a website called privateblognetwork.com. I'm looking to buy this for my private blog network. So I'll look at privateblognetwork.com. I'll look at those details. I'll look at www.privateblognetwork.com and http://privateblognetwork.com. I'll look at all those trust flows and citation flows to see if they vary. And I'll pick the best one. So I want to make sure that the trust flow and the citation flow is over 20. That's a good indicator that it's not just a spammy website. That's one of the first things I look at. The second thing I look at is the number of referring domains. I don't really pay attention to the number of backlinks. If a website has 10,000 backlinks but only 50 referring domains, I'd much rather have a website that has 1,000 backlinks and 500 referring domains. The referring domains is the part that's going to give you the most juice to that website. So, one, trust flow, citation flow, close to 20 or over is possible. The number of referring domains, you want it to be at least 50. Because if you buy an expired domain, over time, that domain is going to lose some links. And if you're starting off with just 10 different domains backlinking to a website, if you lose 3 or 4 of those, that's really going to cut down the power that website has backlinking to you. So you want to get one that has at least 50 backlinks to it. I try to find one that, the more the better. If you can find one with hundreds, that's great. If you find one with thousands, that's going to raises a red flag for me, because the next step is I want to look at where the backlinks are coming from. I'm not going to look at every single backlink, but I'm going to scan through it on majestic.com. I'm going to look at the backlinks and say, okay, are these coming from, blog posts, or are these actually coming from good, high-quality websites that are backlinking to this? So once I make that determination, the next thing I look at is the anchor text. Is the anchor text mostly the domain name, or is it something real specific? What I'm looking for here is did somebody else use this domain to promote a product or service? If it's another affiliate marketing site that was in somebody else's private blog network, I don't want it. There's a reason why they don't have it anymore. And there's a reason why it's spammed. It's probably penalized, or it just doesn't offer any power to your money site. So I want to always look for that. Those are the main things that I'm checking for. Now, if it's a clean website and it truly was a business website that just was expired, that's excellent. That's what I'm looking for. That's the best kind of domain that you want to get for your private blog network. And when I go to hyperdomains.net or any domain dealer, they really specialize in that to make sure that they're not offering any websites that have been spammed or used by somebody else. They look at all those same metrics that I just talked about, and they only offer the clean domains. Otherwise, they're just not going to be in business that long. So that's why I think it's worth it to pay a little extra and go that route. But you make the decision. It's definitely cheaper to find the domains yourself, but it is gonna take more time. I recommend that you do that at first, just to know what you're looking for, to see if you can pick out a good domain. You can go to some of these domain dealers and look at the characteristics of these domains. Look at them, see which ones are for sale. Look them up on Majestic. See what the citation flow, the trust flow is. The number of backlinks from referring domains. What's the anchor text look like? Go to the Wayback Machine, waybackmachine.com, and see what that website was before. That's also another thing that I look at. I want to see what that website looked like before it became available. And I look at it over time. So if that website started in 2007 and it's changed owners like 10 times, that's a little bit of a red flag for me. Especially if it was a website that promoted a product, like I said before. I want to stay far away from those websites. So the Wayback Machine is an excellent tool. So with just those two websites, you can check and see the quality of a domain. Now, I know there's a lot of people who use Moz.com to see what the Moz ranking is. I've always had success with Majestic. I highly recommend it. It's one of the tools I use every single day. I use the Wayback Machine. I did use it a lot when I was building my private blog network myself. I don't use it as much anymore, but those two tools, when you're building a private blog network, are invaluable. The next topic is how to host your private blog network. Now, there's a lot of options for this, and this is one of the areas that I had a lot of issues with when I first started building out my private blog network. The more research you do on private blog networks, you see that you'll find this if you do a lot of research on how to host a private blog network, is people say the only true way to do it is to register individual accounts with different web hosting companies, such as GoDaddy, Bluehost, FatCow, HostGator. That's one way to do it, and that's what I did at first. But you know what? That is a complete pain in the butt to manage. All those different, just going and creating all those accounts is a pain. It takes a lot of time, and I know there's quite a few people who recommend against SEO hosting, but if you have any type of a network, just as far as size, you're going to have to do SEO hosting. That, in my opinion, there's no way around it. Especially, I have over 500 websites. There's no way I'm registering 500 different websites with, I don't even know if there's 500 different domain hosting platforms, website hosting platforms. So I use SEO hosting, and I use various hosting platforms. One of my favorites, and it's a little more expensive, but it does give you a unique Class C IP address, is aseohosting.com. I have over 100 domains hosted there. I have some other ones, indiannets.com, skyhosting.net, also seohosting.com, and seowebhosting.net. Those are the main ones that I use, and I'll also include those links on the blog post, so you have access to that. There's another one I use too. They just released a new platform, and it's an excellent platform. These guys used to work for GoDaddy, and they sell domains. They also provide SEO hosting, all different Class C IP addresses across multiple shared hosting platforms, from GoDaddy, HostGator, a bunch of different platforms. It's a great tool. It's built for people who run private blog networks or manage a lot of domains, and that's managedadmin.com. I have around 30 different IPs with them. So there's a lot of different things that you can do, a lot of different platforms that you can choose from. And those ones I recommended are some of the top ones. There's a few there that I'm not too crazy about the way that they handle it, and that's mostly Indian Nets and Sky Hosting. But ASEOhosting.com it's a great one. I've had websites on there for over a year, and I have an extremely low de-index rate for my private blog networks. And what that means is, out of all my websites that have been up, very, very few of them are de-indexed by Google. They stay up, and especially the ones that I bought from domain dealers. Those domains are some of my more powerful domains, and I don't update them all the time with content, but I made sure that they had good quality content on them, and they've stayed around for over a year. And part of the reason is because I think that I've had good hosting too. So you can pick any of those platforms once you get into it. You can do the one by one and register a different account for every single one you have, but I tell you what, that's going to take a lot of time. And if you're focused on promoting your websites, I mean, it all comes down to what you want to do. Do you want to, build your private blog network all the time, or do you actually want to focus on your websites that generate income? And I always think it's best to focus on your affiliate sites that are generating income. So that's why, I buy from a domain dealer. I use SEO hosting because it just takes less time. So what are you going to pay for SEO hosting? Well, it ranges from, in my experience, it ranges from $1 to $3.75 a domain. And when I say $1, managedadmin.com has hosting where you pay $5 per IP, but you can have up to 5 domains on an IP. Now that will work if you're promoting 5 different websites. I have a rule of thumb that I only get one backlink from a domain per IP. So if I have 2 domains on the same IP, those backlinks from those websites should be going to different money sites. I never want 2 backlinks from the same IP, even if it's different websites. I think it's redundant, and I think it leaves a footprint. So I never do that. I always make sure that I have a domain per IP, and that links to an individual website. Now, if I have 5 different domains to promote, maybe I'm promoting a garlic press, a blender, a vacuum cleaner, and something else. I will have 5 different private blog networks on the same IP. And then they will be all pointing to my different money sites. But I would have 5 different money sites at that point. So you can, if you have different money sites, you can get away with up to $1 per IP per domain with that type of setup. Now on the other extreme, now that's shared hosting. On the other extreme, you have, let's say, $3.75 per IP per domain, and that would be usually that's a dedicated IP. and it's a unique C class IP. Anytime I'm talking about SEO hosting or private blog network hosting, it's always going to be the IPs are going to be on a different C class. So they're either going to be shared IPs or dedicated IPs. So the shared IPs are $1. They can get as cheap as $1 per domain, whereas the dedicated IPs are going to cost up to $3.75. Now, the more you buy, the cheaper it gets. But I would expect to pay anywhere up to $4, possibly even $5 for an IP address for your private blog network, for SEO hosting for a private blog network. Now that when I'm talking about the cost involved, that's per month. So you'd either pay $1 per month per domain for shared hosting, or as high as $5 per month per domain for web hosting. So those are some of the costs involved with hosting. In hosting costs, currently I pay a little over $1,000 a month. I just went through all of my private blog networks and made sure that I actually pay around $1,500 per month for all of the hosting for over 500 private blog networks. So $1,500 a month times 12, that's $18,000 a year I pay just in hosting costs. So you can see, as you build your private blog network, it does get expensive, but I'll pay that all day because it's so worth it. If your money sites are making way more than that, it's just the cost of doing business. So that's for 575 sites. That's $18,000 a year just in hosting. Now, another cost that you want to consider is you have to renew those domains every year. Now, depending on where you buy those domains, you can move them to different registrars. Let's say you bought a domain name on Dotster.com, and then you eventually want to move that to GoDaddy or Namecheap. You can do that. I tend to keep them on whatever I bought. So I have domains all over the place. There's a lot of different places. I have the bulk of them with GoDaddy and Namecheap, but I do have quite a few with other registrars, just one-off registrars. I just make sure that I have all my domains set to automatically renew each year. I make sure my credit card is up to date and current so it can automatically renew. The last thing I want to do is have 30 or 40 domains not renew because I didn't have my credit card up to date. That's bad. You never want to lose that many domains. So make sure you keep up with that information. But to renew those every year, GoDaddy charges around $18.46, and that is the cost of privacy and the domain. So the domain's around $9, and then the privacy is also around $9. So I get charges all the time because these domains renew at different times for $18.46. That's more on the high side. I think GoDaddy's one of the most expensive. If you go with somebody like Namecheap, it's $10.48, and that includes privacy. So they include it. The cost of the domain might be $1 or $2 more, but they include the privacy. You always want to do the privacy with the domain. You never want to use your domain. You never want to use your details for your private blog network. One of the worst things you can do, and most easily detected things from Google, is they can see your private blog. They look at your private blog network and they see your name is registered to 100 different domains. That's obviously a red flag. I make mine all private. Some people go as far as creating fake names and fake information for every domain they have, or they'll do a certain amount of domains with fake information, the others with private information. There's a website that you can use to create fake names, which is fakenamegenerator.com. I'll also include that in the show notes. If you want to do that, you can. I don't do that. I just do privacy straight across for all my domains. And it works for me. So you can tell if you're paying $18.46 for 575 domains, is what I have. That's another $10,000 I have per year just in renewing my domains. So between the hosting and the cost to renew the domains for a 575 private blog network, we're talking $28,000. Now, another cost that you have with private blog networks is the content. You have the websites, you have the hosting, you install WordPress because that's one of the most popular platforms. It's one of the easiest ones to work with. You install WordPress. Now you need the content. So, are you going to write all the content yourself, or are you going to outsource it? I outsource it. Writing content for a bunch of private blog networks, again, it takes a lot of time. You just got to, your time is always going to be more valuable promoting your money sites and writing the content and sales copy for your money sites. Get your conversions up and just making more money with those sites. So I outsource that. And one of the places that I use exclusively is hirewriters.com. I'll also include that. You can get some pretty good quality content for a very reasonable price. It all depends on, the skill level you want and how much content. But I pay around $4.70 for 500 words of content, and I'll range the word count on a lot of my articles, just because I don't want to have a private blog network with hundreds of websites all with 500 words in length. That's another red flag. So I'll buy 750 words, 1,000 words, 500 words, even sometimes 300 words if I'm going to write an About Us page on a private blog network. So let's just say you have 2 pages of content, and the average is, say, $5 times 2 pages times 575. That's another $6,000, $5,750 in just content. So you can see in the all those costs together is a little over $30,000 if you're going to add content to your private blog network every year. Some people might just purchase that content initially and then just let the blog sit. And you know what? There's really nothing wrong with that. I do that with plenty of blogs. Only the highest quality of blogs that I have get frequent content updates. A lot of my blogs, I put 2 or 3 pages on them, and that's it. That's the way they'll stay forever. And if they lose juice over time, so be it. They lose juice, I'll buy more domains. It's just how I run my private blog network. I'm not going to constantly update all of the websites in my private blog network. I'll take the juice that I can get from them just by having a few pages on there, and that's it. And I'll focus on some of my higher quality private blog networks, and I'll update that content more often. So you can see the cost is around, let's say, $32,000 for 575 domains. That's roughly what I pay per year. So if you would take that down and divide that by 10 and say a 50 domain private blog network, that cost is going to be around a little over $3,000 a year. So you can see if you have 50 blogs or websites in your private blog network, it's going to cost you around $3,000 a year, give or take a few $100s. But I mean, it all depends on how you want to set it up. But ballpark figure, that's what it's going to cost you. And your first year is probably going to cost you a little bit more because you have instead of renewing those domains for $18.46 on GoDaddy or wherever your domains are registered, you're going to be paying for the domain. You could pay $50 just to get that domain, or $150 just to get that domain. So your first year is going to be more expensive. You're probably looking around $5,000. So I understand when you're starting out, it's tough to start out in affiliate marketing, especially if you're starting a private blog network. It's one of the best tools, but it costs money to manage. And if you can get yourself to a point where you can afford a few websites in your private blog network and get enough power from those websites in addition to some other things that you're doing to start generating some income, then you can start putting money towards that private blog network. You want to make sure that you take some of your profits and you reinvest it. And building a private blog network is one of the best investments that you can make. It's the best investment that I've ever made. There's no better. In my opinion, there's two great investments when you're doing affiliate marketing. One is find good writers and pay them to write high quality content. And two, invest in your private blog network. If you take care of those two things, everything else will fall into place. So let's just recap where we're at so far. We covered what is a private blog network, how does it differ from a public blog network, expired domains, some places to buy expired domains, what to look for when you're purchasing an expired domain. You don't want to get another domain that somebody else used. And then hosting. What hosting is available? How much does it cost? And just some different hosting considerations, whether you want a shared IP or you want a dedicated IP. And the dedicated IP, of course, is going to be a little bit more. So the last piece, well, not the last piece, but one of the last pieces after you get your private blog network set up, you buy the domains, you get everything hosted, is content. We briefly talked about content on where to get it. And I exclusively use HireWriters.com. I also use writers on Elance, and that's a lot through trial and error. I personally use my better writers and all U.S. writers, all native English-speaking writers, for all my high-quality content on my money sites on Elance. And I pay them quite a bit more because they're writing the sales copy for my websites. But you can find writers on Elance. There's so many writers. You'll just have to, put a couple jobs out there for content and try to find writers that you can use over and over again. That's why I like using HireWriters.com, because it's a lot of the same writers that write on there, and I'm not expecting the highest quality content in the world because this is from my private blog network. If I'm going to use something from a money site, I have certain writers that I use on Elance. I work with them all the time. I know them by name, and I get content done that way. You can do the same thing on Elance if you want to do it for your private blog network. Just put some jobs out there, see who asks for a sample of their writing. If you think they look good, go ahead and hire them. Don't hire them to write 30 different blog posts for your private blog network. Hire them to write 2 or 3. Look at the quality, and if you like the quality, keep working with them. If not, keep your ad out there, for your job posting out there, and find more writers. That's how I work with Elance. So I know that I have a certain job, and if I have a lot of writing to do, I just keep the job open and give people 1 or 2 articles and see how they do. And if I like them, I'll keep them, and I'll start a relationship with them. Otherwise, if the quality's no good, it's only 2 or 3 articles that I had written. So I'm not in the whole 30 articles and wasted all that time and all that effort. But there's a lot of different other writing services out there. I used to use some writing services where you would put in for a batch of 100 articles, and they'd come back a month later. I don't use those services anymore. I love hirewriters.com because you put your job out there, you put all your keywords in there, the topic, and then if, let's say, you have 50 articles that you want written, there'll be people who just are assigned those. They'll just grab those 50 articles. One user will say, okay, I'll take this article. Another user will say, I'll take these next 3. I'll take these. So you can see it in real time, and you can put a time limit on when you want the articles back. You can say, I want all my articles back in 1 day, or even 12 hours. You can get them turned around as fast as 12 hours, which in my opinion is awesome. It's usually, if you put a batch in for, say, 50 articles or 20 articles, you'll get them back. You'll have them all done within a few days, because the timer doesn't start until they grab the article. Once they say, I'm going to take this article on, then the timer starts. So if you set your timer for 1 day, then 6 hours in after you post it, somebody grabbed an article, and then 24 hours from then, you're going to get your article back. And you can, once you get your article back, you can request revisions. You can fire that writer if it's just completely horrible, or you can accept it, and boom, you have your article right then and there. So I use that for all my private blog networks. It's a great service, and I've gotten hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of articles written on there, and with a fast turnaround time. So that's what I do for content, and that's going to cost you anywhere from $3 for a very small article to up to $15 if you want to get somebody has a very high rating and you want 1,000+ word article. Really not necessary for a private blog network. Expect to pay around $5 per article. That's very typical, and that's a good deal for a 500 word article. $5 for good quality. I would expect to pay that. And then to go along with the content, let's talk about how to post that content. So once you get all this content back, you're going to want to post it. So I'm assuming that a lot of you understand how to set up WordPress, how to install WordPress, and how to post blog posts to WordPress. WordPress is I use it for all of my websites. I know some people use Drupal or other platforms, but I exclusively use WordPress. And I've found certain plugins that work well, and which I'll share those too. I always, when I buy an expired domain and I get it hosted, I actually have a webmaster that I use to go on the registrar, point the IP to the exact hosting, and then he also goes to the hosting, installs WordPress. He takes the article that I get from Higher Writers, he posts that on WordPress, and then he goes through a series of steps for each private blog network. And those steps are: 1, installing WordPress; 2, installing all-in-one SEO plugin that allows you to create your SEO title and keywords description for every web page, especially the main page of the blog. And then there's another plugin that I'll list to capture all of the pages that website used to have and redirect it to the main page of the website. Because when we're installing a WordPress and we're configuring this domain, it's going to have the main pages where it has all the juice, and I'm going to be linking from that main page to my money site. So I want to install a plugin that will take any of these ancillary pages that are not there anymore. So if somebody went to my private blog network /oldpage.html, they're not going to get that anymore because I don't have that set up. I'm not doing an exact replica of how the website used to be. I'm putting a new spin on this website with new content and everything else. So, but I don't want to lose that juice. So I'll install a plugin that redirects all of those old pages, and 301 permanently redirects to the main page. So any leftover juice, so to say, comes back to the main page, and I capture all of that, and then I harness all that power and I link it back to my money site. So I installed a plugin for that, and I also install iThemes security plugin and do a one-click secure. It's a great plugin to secure your WordPress install. It's a single-click button that you can use to secure your website from basic attacks. So I do all of those things. Another thing that I'm starting to do is to back up all of my private blog network websites. I used a different plugin to back them up, and it was kind of a mess, but I'm using Updraft Plus now, and I'm backing up all those websites maybe once a week or once a month. You can set the schedule, and I'm having them go all to Amazon Web Services. Amazon Web Services, you can sign up for free, and I have all my money sites backing up to there, and a portion of my private blog networks backing up there. And with the free storage space that they give you, I think I pay around 34 cents per month for Amazon Web Services. So it's a great service. So I imagine once I get all my private blogs up there, it'll cost a couple dollars a month, which is, no biggie. But at least I have, if you ever lose a website, you can always reinstall it if you're backing it up. So it's a good idea to make sure you have some type of backup plugin. I use Updraft Plus. And then I always configure the main title of the private blog network, the title for the main page, to include the domain name -- whatever the website's about. So again, if my money site's about a garlic press and my private blog network's xyz.com and it's talking about a garlic press, then the title of the website will be how to use a garlic press -xyz.com. So, and the reason for that is because a lot of the backlinks going to that private blog network are going to be xyz.com. So it's a way to maintain relevance, because on my private blog networks, I change the content. If xyz.com, if I purchased that and it used to be about a company who ships stuff overseas. But now I'm going to make it about a garlic press. I'm changing the content on it. But I still want to maintain the relevancy of that domain name because it's getting a lot of backlinks from other websites to xyz.com, and the actual anchor text will be xyz.com. So I want to make sure I have that in the title. And I do that with the all-in-one SEO plugin. Another thing you want to do for each one of your private blog networks is give it some widgets. Whether it's your latest post, it's an RSS feed to something on Yahoo News. That's a real popular one that I do. Is if my website is about a garlic press, then I'll go into news.yahoo.com, type in garlic press, take that URL, and add a RSS widget, and paste that URL in the RSS widget. Now it gives me 3 news articles related to garlic presses in the news. It's a great way just to mix up your website so it doesn't, so all your websites don't look like, hey, there's an article and here's the backlink to the money site. You want to change it up a little bit. You want to make sure that they're not all the same. So that's one thing that I do. Sometimes I'll install a calendar plugin. I'll do an RSS feed of something that's related. You could do an image there. There's a lot of different things. You can do popular posts or recent posts, categories, an admin login. There's a bunch of different things you can do to change it up. And one of the last things is, as far as just the general appearance of the website, is create a custom header. If the theme that you pick allows a custom header, then create one. Get a graphics program. I use Photoshop. I've been using Photoshop for forever. So I'll create something. I'll grab an image from Google that's something kitchen related. If I'm promoting a garlic press, or the website's about a garlic press, and then also in the picture, I'll type in text to say everything you want to know about a garlic press, or garlic press central, or information about garlic presses, whatever. I just make a custom header to make it look like the site's a little bit lived in. So you have the custom header. If the theme allows you to do that, then do that. Another thing on the overall design of the website is don't use the same theme. Anytime you search on a private blog network on how to build one, you're going to see that piece of information. Don't use the same theme over and over and over again. That's a red flag. You want it to seem as organic as possible. That you're not manipulating this huge private blog network. And one of the easiest things to do is if they all have the 2012 theme, that's a huge red flag. So just use a different theme every time. And not every theme is going to support a header, an image header. And that's fine. Not every website has an image header. So you want it to seem as organic as possible. A few other things that I do as far as WordPress is I always edit the footer. If you go to, when you're in the dashboard for WordPress, if you go to Appearance and then Editor, and then on the right-hand side you want to click on Footer, take out the links in the footer. Most themes will say, this theme is powered by Theme Design, Tiger Themes, or whatever the theme is, or this is powered by WordPress. Take out those links. You're just wasting link juice there. You want all that. You want to harness all that power and point it to something very relevant to, again, our garlic press example, back to your money site about a garlic press. So you don't want to have your website with all this power and then it's pointing to your garlic press site and WordPress or tigerthemes.net or whatever it is. That really doesn't make any sense. So get rid of those links in the footer. I always make sure those are gone. And then the last thing is create a terms and conditions page or privacy page, and put that in the footer of your website. Most websites have that. So if you want to go undetectable, create a privacy page. Grab some standard privacy policy from somewhere, maybe change a few things. Put a privacy page together on your private blog network site. You can. I put an About Us page too, and I hire that out on I source that on HireWriters.com. I will, if I'm building say 20 websites all about a garlic press to link back to a garlic press money site, I will say, I will create a creative writing project and say, create an About Us page about somebody who has a garlic press website. Just come up with something creative. 300 words. It costs like $2.70 for each one, but it's another page on the website. It makes it more lived in. And then the last thing is create a Contact Us page. So on your private blog network, if you have your main page with a blog post or two, you have your About Us page, you have a Contact Us page, you have a privacy page. Now you got a full-blown website right now. You've got 5 or 6 pages. You've customized the header. That's looking good. Maybe you add a menu, you add some widgets to the side. Now it looks like a completely legit website. And that's the goal. You want to create a completely legit website. There's no reason not to. The more you take shortcuts, the more you increase your chance of getting caught. And all of that work that you put into your private blog network just goes to waste. So spend the extra time, do it right. Don't go too fast. Build it out slowly. Build it right. It'll go a long way. You want to think long term when when you're building a private blog network. So we covered how to get the content, where to host it. That covers a lot of different content on how to build a private blog network. If you have any questions, submit a question through the Ask a Question box, or leave a comment below in the blog post. I'd love to hear from you. If I get a lot of questions, I'll do another podcast and answer all those questions. So it was great talking to you about private blog networks. Hopefully you've learned, you picked up a thing or two, and it'll help you out in your journey on building a successful private blog network. Thanks, and take care.